It was an early morning at Cattleton High School. Principal Celestia and her sister, Vice Principal Luna, had arrived. They were among the first few teachers and staff to arrive before the students. Among the few teachers that managed to arrive around 7 a.m. was actually the computer teacher Maz. Maz and Celestia even went to the same high school when they were young, so they are among the few that actually have been known each other for almost their entire life. Maz, he used to be very skilled in computers, and he even worked part-time at a computer store when he was young. But he wanted to make something more about that. So he decided to start to teach others about computers and something else. And then he was when he was younger, when school had their annual school reunion, he met up with Celestia and Luna. And when he heard that Celestia was actually the principal back in the old high school, and he told her that he was a very skilled computer expert and that had been teaching out about computers for the past 2 years and some other places, mostly private or other students. So that was when Celestia had offered him a teaching position at the school, which is the same that he used to go to as a computer teacher, which he said yes to right away. Ever since when they were in high school themselves, Maz had this huge crush on Celestia, but he was very scared how to tell that to her. In fact, she used to date one of the soccer players back then. So he thought maybe he didn't have any chance with her, since the soccer player she used to date were one of the most favorite students in school. He would have been considered as a nerd, geek person. So he had probably considered himself never to have any chance with her. So instead of doing that, he decided to be an outcast. He was often bullied at school. Many other school students call him kid, jerk, geek, nerd, and lots of things. But when he started teaching at Candlelight High School, they were about more opposite. The other students and the teacher respected him. Even a lot of skilled teachers were very impressed of his computer skills. It did actually happen a few times when even some teachers needed some help from Maz. Some of the computers were acting up or had just crashed, and since he was skilled knowledge about computers, he helped them without any charge. And that made him very respectful among the teacher staff. But there were a point where some of the students didn't believe that he could fix any sort of problem on the computer. When one of the students' bulk biceps computer just crashed when doing a class, and the other students didn't have no idea what to do. But some of the other teachers has said, just go to Maz, he can help you with that. So he did, and bulk biceps. He was prepared to pay Maz for his computer, but he didn't. Since, first of all, it would be very wrong for a teacher to take pay from a student to fix his computer, which would have been against the school's board's rules. But he always wanted to teach other students to help their own problems. So he started taking several classes like computer restore, hacking, sort of 101, and even teaching them like programming, how to design their own websites, and sort of small things. And that actually made him quite popular among other students. At first, there were some students that were quite against his teaching, Right after a while, they noticed how skillful he were in that. And even the students that said that they were skilled enough, but when they had a computer problem, they at first forced themselves to go to maths, even about feeling embarrassed. But after he showed them what the problem was, and he taught them what to do, and even told them to install a virus program that could prevent some of things could happen again in the future. Because this kind of things could happen to anyone at any point. And during a class, though, when a student had asked Maz what was his biggest fear when it happened to him before he was skilled in computers, Maz even informed that when he was around their age, and when he was in the high school, he had his biggest problem ever, even though back then the computers were not much so advanced as they are today, he said. Even the computers were not the same skills programs which we have today. Like there were no internet, and they were not much any bigger games. But he taught himself how to program a computer to make some simple games. But he missed the best of biggest failure he had was when he had a computer and it crashed. Well, you just have to start using it on a writing program, and suddenly when the computer crashed during class, and he had asked his own teacher. But the teacher said, that is something I can't help you with. If the computer has crashed, try to restart it, and if it doesn't work, then do something else. Read a book or something. Back then, he said, the teachers would not be able to help me if I had a problem with the computers or anyone else. So I made an oath to myself, promise, that I would dedicate myself to help others with any sort of problem, with any sort of computer related problems or anything else. And so from that day, I decided to study about electronics and even computer science, even on my spare time. And since only had a few friends back then, even we played games or we just went to the park or something, hang out, but I still did my studies on computers. And from which that I earned my PhD in computer science. And that is how I managed to become a teacher here. When I ran into your principal at a reunion, and she offered me a position as a computer science teacher, and here I am. Everyone in the class was just quite impressed how much he had been doing over the past few years. Over about 30 years almost. When he was in high school, he said that no one at school was even remotely skilled in any computer skills and in science. Even their own computer science class teacher had nothing any skilled on that. Only some of the basic, like how to start, how to restart, or if there was any small problem to fix. But otherwise, there was nothing to do. Even there were not even some big company stores like Apple or any other sort of things that he could just go to. But that was something that he had. And during that particular class, when he told Celestia, she was actually standing right outside and hear all about it. When he even mentioned, computer is part of my life. But one of the students then asked, so when you were in school, did you have any crush on a girl maybe? For the first time, Maz was stunned of that question. No one had ever asked him about it. But even he was silent, which felt almost an eternity for him. The other students was curious of the silent, and he said, yeah, I actually did have a huge crush on a girl when I was back in school. But I never told her. Not ever else. Never else. Or anyone else either about it. And other girls, especially the girls in the class, and say, oh, who was it? What's your name? Uh, well, this is not actually a topic about computers, but let's talk about something else. Oh, don't sling it out, this teacher. Tell us. Well, alright. The name of the girl was actually, but before he could tell, the bell rang and, oh man, everyone said, and they all had to leave for the next class. But promise to tell us next time. Alright, I promise. And Celestia, before even the bell had rang, she had just left the corridor, and she had no idea who this particular girl could have been. So the rest of the class started to school. Maz just talked to some of his teachers and had said, wow, this class is always intriguing. And even Vice Principal Luna had said, well, Maz, you know how to really reach out to the students when you're teaching. Well, I, uh, I, I admit, even I can see most of myself in them as myself. Like how I was in school back then. Teachers were not much as helpful as today. Not offensive. I mean, there were some teachers that were actually helpful, but not many. Even our old computer science teacher, he didn't help us much when we had any serious problem. He said that he used to be very skilled in computers, or any electronics, but it turns out he wasn't that skilled at all. Something he lied about. Well, everyone, that's much about I can say about that," said Maz. But before the end of the day, Celestia had talked to Luna about this, and Maz was quite surprised when Celestia said, "You know, you should actually start teaching others about more advanced computer skills." And ever since he thought that he was only temporarily hired as a teacher, because the old one they had was only has were still in school but was on sick leave for a moment. But the same afternoon before Celestia found him, she got a call from the same teacher who said that he would no longer be returned to school because his doctor told him that could not handle the stress of being a teacher, so he quit. So Celestia and Hunter thought maybe what about Maz hire him as a permanent computer science teacher. So, as I preferred to say to you during the reunion, that I would like to hire you as computer science teacher, as temporarily this will be meaning. But it turns out that the old science computers teacher had quit. So my offer to you then, if you still want to be as permanent computer science teacher here at high school. Are you kidding me? Of course. I mean, that is the ultimate dream to be a teacher, he said. And he's accepted. So the next day when he came back to school, the students had asked him, so, can you, before I start the class, everyone, I have something new to announce. It turns out your old computer science teacher won't return back to school, since he's quit because of stress. But if he quit, but who will be our new teacher then? One of the students. That is me. Everyone was just stunned. Wait, so you will be a teacher then? Incorrect. That's correct. I will be your teacher from now on. That's great, said everyone, because they never expect that, and they even thought him as a young man who is much skilled in computers than the old teacher were. But you have to promise us you were going to tell us about your huge crush when you were in school, said Rainbow with a big smile. Oh, man, I thought you forgot about it, but as a promise is a promise. And right at the same moment, when he said that, everyone was silent. But then, when he said it was Celestia, all the students was like big eyes open and they just glare at him. They didn't expect. But then, right, they asked, if you wouldn't had such huge crush on Celestia, why did you even tell her? Well, you'll see, but I had this huge crush on her, even back then. She used to date one of the biggest are one of big soccer players, and they were still dating even after we finished high school. So she and I went to different schools. I went to another different high school and another college, and she went to another one. And we kind of lost touch over the years until we went back to high school reunion. So why does it stop you from telling her now? You still have a crush on her. And he didn't know what to say though. Truth is, even I do like her, and I do have a crush on her, yes. But I have moved on in my life, and it turns out I don't. I no, I won't probably won't tell her about this. So, as we always do, let's start with the class, and no more talk about this anymore today. All right? Everyone just nodded, and they started class. But during the lunch break, when the teachers had their own break, though, Maz was sitting talking with some of the students when Celestia walked in, and she asked Maz if she could talk to him more privately. And he thought maybe something was wrong, but he said yes. So they walked out in the corridor, and just a little bit further away from the teacher's lounge. There she told him that she had heard of some of the students talking about something that, and she wanted to ask him if it was true. And he was curious about what kind of being mentioned about. Is it true that you had a crush on me back in high school? She asked. Wait, how did you even know about that? He asked him back. I heard about my students overheard that they mentioned your name and my name, that they said that you had a crush on me even back then, but you never told anyone, especially me. Is that even true? And he said, yes, yes, it is true. But it was years ago. And I thought maybe when I came back to high school, to your reunion, I thought maybe you were married with this soccer player or someone else by then. So I didn't even consider to even ask you or even tell you about it. But I found out you were still single even after all these years. I never considered to even tell you. I thought maybe you were happy as you were. Are you kidding me? Maz, I did actually like you very much. But I was even I myself was very nervous to even tell you about that. Wait, you had a crush on me? And she smiled and laughed and said yes. Wow, that's a twist story. But, you know, now we have admitted to each other. Now what? She had nothing to say, though. And he then said, well, how about we, I don't know, go out for dinner maybe? And she said yes to that. So, the next day, some of the students had asked him how things has been going on because he did actually seems to be happier. He was humming to himself, was almost whistling when he reached the corridors and back in the classroom. And even the bulky pipes and said, Teacher, are you alright? Oh, yes, class, I'm alright. You know, things seems to be more brighter today. And what is the reason for that? Pinky asked. Um, well, I'm had to say, alright, I have a date on Friday. Who? Everyone asked. Your principal, Celestia. Everyone was shocked. Wait, you actually did ask her out after so long time? And what made you able to do that? Everyone asked. Turns out she had a crush back on me, and even then. But she was too nervous even to tell me, so. Kind of a big twist, he said. Everyone just started laughing and said, well, life had its way, said everyone else. That's true. And everything was just perfectly during the rest of the day. He teach other classes about maths, about science, and computer science. But on Friday, though, right after school was over, he returned home to take a shower, shave himself, and even took his most perfect suit for the most perfect dressing for his dinner date with Celestia. When he arrived to her home, he was stunned to see her with this dress, necklace, and wow, you look stunning. She smiled and blushed and said, thanks. So they went to the restaurant, which they had ordered, and they didn't had any problem to talk about anything even then. They mostly talked about all the memories from school what they went to, and they even met that they should have probably told each other about their feelings towards each other back then, because who knows, things that might be differently by then. They might be even had a family back now, or married with something like that. Hearing that from us, though, Celestia could not imagine how life things would have been if she had been married with him already. But he said, who knows, maybe we'll be married within a few years and have our own family. Hearing that from Celestia, from him, Diane, she just smiled. Well, who knows if we take it a little slowly from back then. So, even after all that happened, Celestia and even Maz, they continued dating. Things started to be more better between them. They often saw each other during lunch break, then even after school was over. It happened that Maz stayed over at school. Even after school was over, he stayed a few hours longer to take care of some problems, some things in his classrooms, and even went to see Celestia. They had a small talk before they both had to go home, but after almost a year though, Maz, he had actually moved out from his apartment and moved in with Celestia in her house, which was close to school. Even most of her time when they started dating, even Luna were just happy for her sister that had found someone to be with. Even when Celestia was actually a bit just Celestia herself were a bit scared how things would turn out between them. If they were really taking this too fast or something. But they both agreed, like they had been dating for a year before they moved in together, and they decided if they would be end up getting married, they would probably do that within the next 2 years or so. But as they have both said that they want to take it slow and a normal rate. But almost after 6 months of been living together, Maz actually did something that she didn't expect. He actually had asked her if she wanted to be engaged, which she said yes to. But that didn't mean that they were getting married within a year or so. They decided just to be engaged for a while to see how things turns out. But after just having been together for another 2 years, for about total 3 years, something did happen. One day, when Celestia went to the doctors because she had been feeling a bit ill lately for about a week or so. So she went to the doctor to see if she had the flu or something going on. But there was nothing serious that she had in hope for. But it was something else. She was pregnant. And she was both scared but happy at the same time. She always wanted to have her own family, but especially with her boyfriend or her fiancé, Maz. But she was just nervous how he would take it all. Since they both had promised each other not to have a family until after being married, or perhaps even 2 years after being married or something. So she had only two options: telling him about this matter, the baby what she was carrying, or just having removed an abortion. But she couldn't do that. So the same day she had a talk with her sister, and she was just like, "Wait, you are pregnant, and you even haven't? Wow! What did Matt say about it? Wait, he doesn't even know? Had to? Why have you told them?" Celestia told her sister that she came straight to her after she had just left the hospital for to see about her doctor. And since Maz was still back in school, and Celestia had been taken off for a few days because she didn't feel so well. So, and though, and then, when Celestia came back home, Maz had already returned home, but school was over. He asked her how things went in the school, how they went to the doctor. He asked if it was something serious. But she said no. There wasn't nothing serious. But she asked him to sit down. There was something that she needed to tell him. So he did, and he asked her, "What is it?" He was expecting something like she wanted to break up with him, and she had fallen in love with someone else, or he had almost many possible scenarios in his mind what's going on. But this was something that he didn't have on his mind. When she told him that she was pregnant, he was like, "Are you serious, Celestia? Are you pregnant?" He stood up and just walked up to her, and she smiled and said yes, and she felt scared that he would be angry. But then she saw him start to cry. But there was not a sadness. In fact, it was tears of joy. Even that they both had agreed to wait to have a family off together when perhaps only a few times after being married. But that didn't mean that. Even now she was pregnant and that they was very long before they were even married. But that didn't change things though. He still loved her, even if they would have a family of their own before even all that happened. But he then said, "If you want to have to wait to be married even before our baby is born, or perhaps even after, I'm okay with either." And she said that she would like to be married even before the baby is arrived. And since she's only about 2 to 3 weeks of pregnant, so there will be plenty more time to plan for the wedding. So they announced to all the students and the teachers that they're going to have a baby soon, within a few months, and they're also going to get married. Everyone at school was so beyond happy for them. And even though that, they decided to have the wedding at the school, and they had decided to invite all the students, even teachers, to the wedding. And Pinky, she had offered to prepare for this big party afterwards, which both Maz and Celestia agreed to. After all, since they knew both that Pinky can make the best of parties, so she decided to make the party, and Twilight were with help of Celestia with Luna to organize the wedding, and then Celestia would have the dress made by Rarity and the suit for Maz. Even on the day of the wedding happened, everyone was so happy. When Maz saw Celestia in the dress, he was like, "Oh wow, she is gorgeous." And even after the wedding itself, there was a big party, which everyone had some amazing time. And Pinky, thank you. This party was beyond for both me and Celestia had been expected. When they even later went to their honeymoon, they actually went to Paris for about a week. A few months later, they had their baby. and they had a daughter. When the daughter was about 5 years old, they had another baby, a son. Maz, he could not have been more happier for Celestia that to have a baby with, or especially a family. So have two things that came true to him. One, to be married with his teenage crush, and especially to have a family with his teenage crush. Ever since he was ever since he was in love with Celestia back in school, when they were in high school, he could not have been happier to be with the one he loved the most of all. Even Celestia, she was happy to that he had admitted his true feelings towards her. If he haven't done it, she would have missed this true happiness, not only from Maz, but love from their two children they have together. And that's how Maz and Celestia found a true love, got a family together. The end.